How do you see people who do it well? How do they do it?
You have a project management software. You have to, especially when you're doing two two or more projects. I know it's like, what? Yeah, two or more projects, because these projects, depending on the size of the projects, can be very time consuming, and they have a lot of moving pieces, a lot of communication that can be falling through the cracks, or communication that can be under communicated, or those type of things. But when you have a project management system where everybody's communicating through that system with each other about certain phases of the job, nothing's lost, and you can always go back and fix things when you have a centralized place to go and find that information.
Yeah.
Can you name a couple of softwares
We talk about that,
that you
Martin,
see?
with like one source of truth, like having that project management software where, hey,
Right.
if I need to know what is happening on this job, what my responsibilities are, I know exactly where to look. And when you don't have
One
that
place to
software in
look.
place, it's like, you're going and asking this guy, and then you have to, go back and look at some notes in your phone, but you didn't really take notes in your phone. You're looking at text
Right.
messages, and it's just a mess, right? Yeah, Martin I think was going to ask, what kind of softwares do you recommend on project management software front? I know there's so many that are specialized based on the industry or type of construction you're in. Any that you have that are favorites?
Yeah, if I'm looking for like a catch-all, I'm looking at Build a Trend.
Yeah,
Build a Trend is just, I mean, these guys know what they're doing.
yeah,
Um, and it fits well for both residential and commercial.
hmm,
And I use it for both. And all the like the to-do checklist that they have in there, the different things that you can code, like whether this was a builder variance or customer variance, um, your leads, all that stuff, and estimating, and it being creating an invoice off an estimate, a PO off an estimate. All these things are just beautiful, and it works beautifully with Builder Trend. And I have a tech stack or an ecosystem that I use, which is Builder Trend coupled with QuickBooks Online, coupled with Bill.com, coupled with Dex. So there's a couple things that I use to get the organization to communicate efficiently and to work very harmoniously.
yeah.
What I mean, with each other. So
Yeah, we talk about tech stacks a lot in several of our episodes. Build a Trend is a good software, especially if you're more of like a GC, especially helpful there. It's good for certain subs as well that have other subs on top of them. And I would say if you're more of like a service contractor that's doing more like appointments recurringly and stuff like that, there's other tools like Jobber is a good one. Maybe Service Titan are other good ones as well. You mentioned Bill.com and QuickBooks. I'm assuming QuickBooks for the bookkeeping and taxes aspect, and then Bill.com for the invoicing.
Bill.com is for the accounts payable portion, because Build a Trend
Okay.
coupled with QuickBooks Online, then the invoices will move from Build a Trend to QuickBooks, and then you will just invoice from
Yeah.
QuickBooks. That's the way that would work. But with Bill.com, we
Yep.
actually have we have our contractors to create a accounts payable email address, so that way all their subs and vendors can send their invoices to that email address, and then we have all that information that email inbox forwarded over to Bill.com, so all that stuff goes right into Bill.com, without someone actually hitting the forward button or someone pushing that information in to Bill.com manually.
Right.
And so now we can start to review what bills we have due, and start to approve them and code them inside of Bill.com. So I love it for an account payable solution.
That's great. And then what was the last one there? Dex?
Yeah, Dex is kind of like the thing that I like when, there's always going to be some type of purchases that's being made on the fly. So what you're going to have? Receipts. So Dex is that receipt capture system. So that way, if you have, one or two guys who can go and make purchases on behalf of the company, they can use Dex to upload those receipts and kind of just handwrite, or they can code it right there on the phone too, And then we will have that information at the accountants or the bookkeeping team to be able to see, okay, this is something that was bought today. So Dex is more of like that today purchase. Bill.com is like something I need to pay later.
Gotcha.
And they do ultimately wind up from Dex into QuickBooks. So you've got your liabilities in QuickBooks. Yeah.
Correct. Yep. So once all that information gets coded in Bill.com or Dex, it gets pushed to QuickBooks, and then QuickBooks will then resync it, or because it's a two-week sync between Build-A-Trend and QuickBooks, so it will update everything inside of Build-A-Trend.
With Dex, what's the value in, like, explain that to the contractor of having that in real time in your books, knowing exactly what's being spent on a day-to-day? Why is that so important?
That's important because just imagine this, like if you were to capture a receipt when it happened, the likelihood of you understanding where you are in that project tomorrow is like goes way up, because now we have, as your accounting team or your bookkeeper team, have the opportunity to actually code that information and get it into the system. So now you can kind of see, where I was yesterday and where I am today. And instead of waiting for the whole month to complete and then to someone to go back and kind of code everything and get everything in the system and then go back and review the reports. No, we want to make decisions on the fly, because we may see that, hey, we're underbilled right now, and it's because of this one phase of the project. So we may need to put like 2 more guys on this phase of the project, so we can get it completed, so we can invoice the customer for this phase, so we can get paid and have enough money in the bank to cover our expenses. So you can able to make those type of decisions when you have real time data being captured.